Hello, and we are now live.
We are,
yeah,
or possibly even undead.
yes, possibly. We are live /undead /whatever state of being at HalloCon Horror Convention on Liso Castle over on the Wirral.
Uh-huh.
So yes,
you know, we are. I'll say this up front. Love this venue. 17 years ago, I had my wedding reception in this very room. My wife and I had our first dance literally like 2 meters away from where we're sat right now. So bringing back a lot of memories. Love you, Kath.
You big softie.
Yeah,
you
big softie. But today I've come loaded for bear, as you can see, as Shaun of the Dead. So cricket bat, Winchester rifle. So don't piss me off.
Okay, and I've just come as me because I play the character of me in the last
Amityville movie.
Yes,
I'm
in cosplay 24/7.
You can actually cosplay yourself.
Exactly. We literally in work this week they put up we have like an engagement chat where they run competitions and all this kind of nonsense. And they're like, hey, why don't you send us your photos of your Halloween costumes and stuff? And so people have done that, and I've just said, I'll just send you a photo of me then. So. Yeah. Well, we'll take some photos of the day and everything like that. And I'm sure we'll put them all on the socials, as the kids say.
The socials. That's the kids. What, like that one over there?
Yeah. My daughter's here today. So it's what is it now? It's 10:35 in the morning. We're a little bit late starting because the convention did start at 10.
Doors have opened. It's a bit quiet at the moment.
Yeah,
but
we have to finish our breakfast first.
Yeah. Well, your breakfast, my coffee.
Yeah, true.
Needed the jump start. But I mean, so this event is run by the same guys who did AintryCon that we did our last convention live streaming at, and same sort of thing, but with a horror theme.
Yes.
So lots of spooky stalls to look at. Already been walking past scary clowns.
No. Killer clowns from outer space, Paul.
Well, okay, them, but there were other scary clowns as well.
Oh yeah, well that. Well.
And Ghostbusters. We'll go and show you Ecto 1 later.
Yes.
We were just looking at that like 5
minutes ago.
There was
a full replica Ecto 1 outside.
There are guests here. Friend of the podcast, Spencer Wilding, he's here, Darth Vader. But there's a stormtrooper here as well. Chris Bunn, who's also been in many classic movies, including horrors, is here. So they're signing, and hopefully we'll have a chat with them at some point. And well, just the same sort of thing. Amara is on her way here, so there will be three of us.
She'll be in about 20 minutes or so.
Okay. But
she better be, because otherwise we can't do our walk and talk. So she's got the wire that I forgot to bring.
Well, yeah.
So,
there we go.
It is. That's my fault.
But I think horror. So horror is kind of your
bag.
thing.
Yeah.
It's your bag.
All day, every day.
And but why is horror your bag?
Do you know what? I actually got asked this years ago. I was doing and I was being interviewed for the paper because I'm like that. I was doing a play years ago, and the interviewer said to me, what genres are your favorite? I said, well, horror's one of my favorites. And he said, why? I said, well, think about it. You watch horror movies, you see people getting, cut to ribbons and sliced in half and all that. Think about it. One of the most kind of iconic deaths in horror is Kevin Bacon in the original Friday the 13th when he gets the arrow through his neck.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, no one killed Kevin Bacon in real life. It's how do you make this thing look real without actually killing someone? It's all magic tricks. That's the thing for me.
It's like the effects.
Yeah, I like the effects side of things. Granted, a good horror movie should have a good story. Any movie should have a good story at its heart, obviously. But then you build on top of that with the effects and what have you. But yeah, for me with horror, it is like, okay, how did they do that? Because I can understand how Sandra Bullock can cry on cue, in whatever movie, but in a horror movie you can't get Kevin Bacon to die on cue. So it's
as much as you might want to.
No,
your mileage may vary when it comes to Kevin Bacon.
It depends how footloose you are.
Hey.
But so for me it is kind of like I like the spectacle of it all. Is E.T. or Jay? No, there's no E.T. or Sugar Puff Monsters here right now. But
thank you, Jay.
That's Thank you to Jay. Jay's been been most of our shows are Geek Retreat Warrington.
But
yeah,
but
Jay's
that's
a fan.
it's funny that Jay should get to what I was going to mention. The things you find genuinely scary aren't actually scary.
No, that was when I was a kid, Paul. Let's be honest with you. It's not, things that I find genuinely scary now is like, something happening to me kids. That's like terrifying stuff for me now. It's like it's weird. Like when I was younger, horror, I could watch any horror movie, no matter what daytime, not whatever, but whatever. But various movies now, if I go back to them as a parent, I'm like, okay, if there's a kid in peril or something like that, I'm like, oh no, I can't do that anymore. It's like when it's not necessarily a horror movie, but the movie Irreversible, it's a French movie. I used to be able to watch that, no problem. And there's some pretty gruesome graphic stuff that happens in that movie. Yes. Even something very horrible that happens in the middle of the movie. It's not horror. Well, it is horror, but it's not like blood and guts or anything like that. It's a very uncomfortable scene that happens.
Yes.
And I had no problem watching that, but as I've got older, I can't really go back to that movie anymore. And it's weird because I did a film a long time ago where I had to play a soldier who was kind of reliving the horrors of war. He'd seen some war atrocities and stuff, and at the end of it, he kills himself. And it's all done in a voiceover. So literally, I just had to be, the face, and I just had to stare into the camera, just kind of like start getting upset and crying and stuff, and to get myself into a mindset of someone who's seen horrible things. When in the morning before I got on the train, I watched the most bloody and graphic scenes in Irreversible. Watch that on a loop over and over again for about half an hour.
Yeah.
The fire extinguisher scene, if anyone's seen that movie. I watched that over and over for about half an hour just to get myself into a mindset of, okay, I've seen these horrible things. They've stuck with me, but I've sort of also become desensitized to it because I've seen it that much. Yeah. So that's the whole the mindset thing going on there. But yeah, that's what it did. But now I haven't watched that movie in, 16 years almost. Yeah. So it's been a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I like horror as a genre. Horror, if you like. But I don't find horror scary per se.
Yeah, keep your microphone a little bit closer. What's that? Favorite horror film? Evil Dead 2. I love Evil Dead 1, it's great, but Evil Dead 2 because it's funnier.
That's Spencer Wilding asking the question there.
So what's your favorite then, Spence? Right. Evil Dead 1.
Nice.
Yeah. Funny enough, I had one. It was one of the things, make a horror film sound tame. And I've chosen Nightmare on Elm Street, where it was just like the school janitor makes all the children's dreams come true. So, yeah, Robert Englund, yeah. You just realise that he's just a nice guy underneath, and that's who everyone's a nice guy underneath for the most part.
The favorite horror films for me tend to be like the Japanese ones, like the original Ringu and Ju-on, The Grudge.
Oh, I can't wait! I cannot wait for the new Toxic Avenger. We spoke about that last time we saw you actually, entry. Yeah. I really cannot wait. I love the original one because it's 95 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Crikey.
Wow. Okay. Looking forward to that then, definitely.
See, Troma is not something that I've ever really watched stuff of.
Troma is it's got its hits and its misses, but this isn't Troma by way of Hollywood. This is a lot more polished than the original Toxic Avenger.
Which company is producing this? Is it Blumhouse? Because Blumhouse seems to be the company that tends to take stuff and then do the legacy.
What's that? Sorry, Legendary. Okay,
they're the other company that tends to take old properties.
Yeah.
Do because they're Godzilla. Aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, but I don't tend to find horror movies scary. I find them gross in places. So, for example, I struggle with the Saw movies because especially like
I watched Saw 10. watched Saw 10 this week.
Saw 1.5.
It's a really good movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Done...
It's not your typical Saw. Like,
yeah. I mean, the previous one, what was it? Spiral.
That's awful.
I quite like that one
dreadful.
because it takes the Saw premise and sort of goes on a different direction with it. So sort of the next generation of Saw, as it were.
Yeah, Jay there with a little joke popping in. Freddy Krueger was late for work because the traffic on Elm Street was a nightmare.
Oh. But no, it's like in the Saw movie, it's the pit of hypodermic needles.
Yes,
I have a thing about.
I was talking to Elise about that
and
last week.
Just utterly shit me up, basically. So yeah, I try, but Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th.
These are your big hitters in horror, like Halloween.
Halloween, I really.
I've been really craving watching Halloween 3 this week.
I don't find them scary. I just, gross, entertaining, certainly.
I mean, if you watch the original Halloween, it's not. You can't really compare it to today's modern horror because everything's been done. They have to top each other. Whereas the original Halloween, you think the majority of that movie is just a dude standing around watching people, and occasionally
in a William Shatner mask.
Occasionally you'll just go and give him a bit of a stabbing. But most of it, for the first half of that movie, just where he's stalking Laurie Strode, it's literally just him just looking up at a window or standing by.
If I want to watch a movie with a bit of a stabbing, I will always just go back to Psycho.
Yes, the original slasher, you may say.
The original, because the thing I love about Psycho is it's for 95% of the movie, it's not actually a horror movie. No. You think it's a completely different movie.
It's a crime drama.
Yeah.
If anything, at the beginning where she's stealing the money and everything.
Yeah, and then suddenly, she goes to this motel and never leaves.
Yeah. it's great in that because you get to see his aftermath. Like, okay, I've killed her, or rather, Mother has killed her.
Mother,
then,
what have you done? Mother?
And then when Norman finds out what she's done, he's just like, right, okay, I've got to get rid of this. So I've got to get rid of that car and drive it into the lake. Yeah. You get to see him trying to cover up his tracks, but you don't really get to see him in many modern horror movies. No. Like you watch Scream, you don't get to see these people cover it up after themselves. But then again, in Scream, they want people to be found.
Again, the Scream franchise I find entertaining. I don't find them gross or scary or anything. The Exorcist, I still find a genuinely disturbing movie.
I caught the end of that the other day. Funny enough, it was on BBC One. I said the other week, it was a couple of weeks ago now. It was on BBC One. I was literally right at the very end where
the power of Christ compels you.
Yeah, where Father Merrin is just having his heart attack and dying. Yeah. And I was, it's such a great movie.
I remember when The Exorcist was something that was legendary and you just couldn't get it easily. Yeah. Luckily, I got a pirate copy of it, but it was a decent pirate copy because basically they just done the Fear of God documentary with Mark Commode on BBC One. Yeah. So they obviously had a decent copy of it at the BBC for the clips in that. And a friend of a friend basically had a copy of a copy of the version they had at the BBC.
Yeah.
So mine was only like 2 generations down from a broadcast master, so it was like perfect.
Well, I was reading an article about movie censorship this week, funny enough, and it was saying about how The Exorcist was only released uncut in the UK in I think 2002. For the very first time.
Yeah,
you could get it, but it was heavily censored. And I was reading up about all that and the video nasties and everything like that, and it's amazing some of the stuff that is still you know. It's not censored, but it is unavailable to this day.
How long was A Clockwork Orange not available?
They couldn't. Although that was Kubrick, though, that wasn't actually banned by the BBFC.
No,
Kubrick said, "Okay, I disagree with people having access to this right now because of the level of violence in it, and there was copycat stuff going on when it first came out." So he's like, "No, we're putting it in the vault until I'm dead." Do what you want with after that.
I got to see A Clockwork Orange by importing a VHS.
Oh, right.
I knew somebody who was.
You have to have an NTSC compatible.
Yeah, I had an NTSC compatible VHS player, so it was like perfect. But pick that up for me while you're in the States, and they did.
I remember back in like 2001 or something like that. I bought a DVD player and I found a region unlock code for it because it was set to region 2, obviously. But you could find the code, and then I bought all my import DVDs from like Japan and Australia and America and everything. I've got the movie Grindhouse, the Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. Obviously in the UK that was split up as the 2 movies. You got Planet Terror and the Death Proof.
Yeah.
And obviously, originally it was one big double feature.
Yeah, I've
There
got
were
the
shortened
Blu-ray,
versions of the movies, but was done one double feature. And I bought a Japanese exclusive box set, which has the single director's cut of each movie, and then another disc, which is the
Nice.
original theatrical version,
Yeah.
and then other discs that are bonus features, but I cannot for the life of me figure out what they are because all the menus are in Japanese. I've also got an American import copy of Sin City, not strictly a horror movie, I would say. There's horrific elements to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got the cannibal and everything
Robert
like that.
Rodriguez is my filmmaking
But
hero.
that was obviously the director's cut, and it came with a small digest version of
Dame to Kill For?
no, it wasn't Dame to Kill. It was
the
Marv story.
The
Hard Goodbye.
Goodbye,
Yeah,
I wanna
that's
say.
what I said. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
and because it was Hard Goodbye and that
It's-
yellow bastard.
Hard Goodbye, and Dame to Kill For, and The Client as well.
Yeah.
Is the Josh Hartnett.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, my earliest DVD of Reservoir Dogs was a Region 1.
Yeah.
And my first copy of the Clerks X DVD was a Region 1 as well. The 10th anniversary of Clerks DVD. I imported.
I just want to draw attention to this comment from Jay here saying that Scream is a parody of horror movies. I don't agree. I would say it's a deconstruction of horror movies. It is a comment on horror movies,
like Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
New Nightmare was Scream before
New-
Scream. Yeah. He kind of what Wes did is he said, okay, Nightmare on Elm Street started here and then worked its way over there. I want to try and bring you back to there whilst also kind of not ignoring what came before, but kind of drawing attention to it, saying this wasn't the original intention.
Yeah,
This
and
way it
you know,
is.
so
This is what it should have been.
I mean, they literally deconstruct it.
Yeah.
In the horror genre. In the plot and the dialogue, because they go, right, here are the rules of a horror movie, and we are aware that we are in a horror movie.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what New Nightmare does to a certain extent, but then he perfected that in Scream. But again, just remember that it was Kevin Williamson wrote Scream. He was the one who came up with all this stuff. It just happened to be paired up with Wes Craven as a nice kind of an addition to what he'd done before with New Nightmare.
Yeah.
So and that obviously setting up the rules of horror movies, or the tropes, as basically as what we would call them now.
Yeah.
It's like how sex you'll die, this person's gonna die, that blah blah blah, and and then they expand on that in the sequels by inventing new rules to do with sequels.
Well, yeah,
and reboots as well later in Scream 5.
All you sit through the explanation scene where they're going, right, these are the rules, and you're going, oh shit, yeah.
I've seen movies where that happens.
Yeah, that happened in that.
But that's why Scream explicitly throws them on their heads, like saying, the big rule that the virgin will live was. So that's why Sydney loses her virginity in that movie. So that you think, okay, yeah, now she's gonna die, but obviously she's the heroine. She's gonna survive.
Yeah, and I mean, when they did the Scream 5 or Scream, calling it Scream again. They're talking about. So here's the rules of legacy sequels or reboots, requels. So again, because the genre and indeed the whole industry has moved on 20 years in the life of this franchise.
The first Scream movie came out, I want to say 95 and 96.
So nearly 30 years by this point. But
say 25 for the sake of argument,
But it's moved on far enough that you need to take into account that we are actually going back to the beginning and redoing these things again and again and again. Yeah,
I mean, sometimes the only way to move forward is to go back to the past. As we just mentioned there, Toxic Avenger is coming out soon.
Okay,
now, if you've not seen the original Toxic Avenger, then
no, I have not.
Okay,
I am the closest thing I'm aware of is the cartoon, because it was on Saturday mornings on BBC One, the Toxic Crusaders.
So. With the original, it is very, very low budget. It's backyard filmmaking at its best, and it's like, okay, so we've got this stock footage. What can we do with that? We want to do this, so how can we do that? And like literally, there's a point in the movie where some punks are driving around, and a kid gets run over, but they run over the kid's head. It's a bit grim, but they did that by literally just watermelon. Let's
Yes.
drive over
Yes.
the watermelon,
That-
and it's really effective.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the trick. You if low budget filming,
Yeah.
you find the cheapest way to do a thing.
Yeah.
And you
It's
play
like,
to.
it's like
your
if you watch.
strengths.
Have you ever seen Death Race 2000? The old
I have not, no.
David Carradine movie.
Or if I have, it's a long time ago, and
They
I've
remade it after
Yes.
good while back now with Jason Statham.
Yes,
That's not good.
okay.
But the original is fun. Sylvester Stallone's in it. It's one of his earliest roles. Yeah.
I'm gonna drive.
Yeah.
Driving the car in the future.
That's a bit of a mad film. I'm not gonna lie, but it's fun. It's like, do you remember the old Grand Theft Auto? 10 points for running over this person. All that. That's where this comes from. Death Race is they have to get from here to there, accumulate as many points as they can along the way. So it's just like, okay, there's a homeless person pushing a trolley full of cans across the road. 50 points if you can get them. That's basically what it is. It's stuff like that. Get from point A to point B, kill as many people as you can along the way.
Going off horror just for a second, but sticking to the subject of reboots and remakes.
Yeah.
So in the last week or so, there's been a lot of discussion about the whole idea of rebooting a famous franchise that a couple of people in this room have actually been directly involved with. So how would you feel if they actually remade Star Wars from scratch?
Okay, yes, I heard this story this week. I mean, no, let's not do that first and foremost.
I think there are certain things that are inviolable, and you shouldn't. I mean, that hasn't stopped Hollywood doing it.
Yeah.
And I think there is a time where potentially that will happen.
Once upon a time, you would have thought they'll never remake King Kong, but then the 70s came along, then the 80s came along, then the 2000s came along. So, and then obviously the 2015s and what have you. So, the time moves on.
Yeah, and
nothing is untouchable in my setting. But
no, eventually, maybe at the moment it'll still be a good long while before.
Oh yeah,
they decide.
That's the thing with Star Wars is it's a whole universe. You can do so many stories without touching the Skywalkers.
They absolutely
which is what
are.
they're doing with I'd say
Ahsoka and Mandalorian and.
It's a lie, no, because Mandalorian met Luke Skywalker. Ahsoka Tano was Darth Vader's apprentice. So but then conversely, then you've got things like Andor, which is indirectly but sort of related.
My favorite Star Wars TV show is named after a logic.
But also, if you think about it, that is still related to the
jumping all over my gag.
Whatever.
I'm just waiting for the next show called If Then.
But it's it is related to the Skywalker saga because obviously it's about getting the Death Star plans and everything. Yeah. So even though where it's going to lead up to, it's not connected in the TV show, but it leads up to the movie, which is then connected. But I like we've got the TV series coming up, and the Acolyte, which is set. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with nothing.
I think that's potentially going to be the trick with the Star Wars franchise, which is expanding out into the other time zones that they've established in sort of the expanded media. Yeah. So the High Republic and stuff like that. So the rise of the Jedi, the rise of the Sith, and stuff like that. But I think also potentially expanding out to that other galaxy far away is potentially a thing now. Where the
DLC, if you like, of the Star Wars universe,
where the Witches of Dathomir came from originally. So that will be. There is a lot of things that they can potentially do without touching the original stuff, as it were.
So Jay's just mentioned here about Back to the Future was said to be remade, but it just won't work today. People have said. I don't think we need a remake of Back to the Future. I think those three movies stand alone. I don't think you need any sequels or remakes or anything like that. Make a time travel movie by all means, but don't remake Back to the Future for the sake of using the name.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work because then you'd have people comparing it, saying, "Oh yeah, well, he's not Michael J. Fox or he's not Christopher Lloyd." Make your own time travel movie, make up your own rules, do whatever you want. Use the same basic premise of Back to the Future because basically that's what these this new wave of horror movies, like you've got Happy Death Day, which is basically Groundhog Day.
Yes,
but for horror movies, you've got the what's that other one? The Freaky, which is Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday for horror movies. Yeah.
So make your own time travel movie, maybe make it a horror time travel movie, do what you want with it, but don't steal a title for the sake of brand recognition.
No, absolutely. I mean, I've just started watching it's not horror, but I've just started watching The Lazarus Project.
Okay.
And that is basically based around the Groundhog Day
Right.
idea, but
Yeah.
you know, with throwing the word quantum in just to
For
sort of
science.
explain it without having to explain
Yeah.
it. And you know, I've literally only watched the first couple of episodes, but it sort of turns the concept into a police procedural. And by the end of episode 2, no, actually we're going in a completely different direction with this now, and I just don't know where this is going to go.
Well, we watched this week saying about horror being different to the expected. So, I mean, I say a lot of people when they think of horror, they think of like the gore and the effects and everything like that. What we watched this week, Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix, the new Mike Flanagan series.
Yeah, I've not watched it yet.
God, that's a good show. It's basically every episode is an adaptation of an Edgar Allan Poe story.
Oh, right, yeah.
So there's one which is The Pit and the Pendulum.
Yes.
But that only really becomes evidence right at the very end. There's one which is The Black Art. Again, that's a bit more obvious. My big thing in movies is I don't like stuff with eyeballs. Anything going in or scratching eyeballs.
So
you're
not a big fan of Takashi Miike?
No, not a big fan.
Audition.
No, not a BK fan at all. I mean, I am, but no. Like I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's the scene in Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters, whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say Zombie Flesh Eaters.
The where it's the zombies pulling it towards the wooden bit in the door. No. I still remember watching that for the first time, and it freaked me out. But yeah, so For the House of Usher is great.
That's
it's
a good
literally
question.
watching all these people just fall victim to their own family's hubris and deals with what may or may not have been a devil.
Good question. So what was the first
Here's my sister
potentially horror movie that scared you?
What is the first horror movie that scared me?
Or just generally movie that scared you if it wasn't a horror?
I know the answer to this. The first thing that I saw in a movie that scared me, and I know a lot of people are going to agree with me on this. It's the end of Superman 3, where the villain's sister gets turned into the Metallo, basically
the
robot,
the robots,
yeah.
The cyborg.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Terrifying. That sequence.
I can see that
when you're a young child, it is absolutely terrifying. She's just getting crushed and turned into this robot. Ugh. I mean, granted, when she comes out, the costume's a bit rubbish, but it's the transformation sequence. It's like one of the reasons people love American Werewolf in London. You say to them, okay, tell me your favorite bit of that movie. They're going to say the transformation sequence.
Yeah.
They're not going to say stuff like, when he goes to the picture and his mate sitting there, there's a rock corpse sitting next to him, or the bit where they go into the pub and the fella's like, stay off the moors and all that. They're not going to say the Nazi werewolf dream sequence or anything like that. But transformation sequences always tend to stick with people. And,
yeah. Because my answer is Alien.
Okay.
So I remember. So let's think. This is early 80s.
Okay.
And my mum knew I was into sci-fi movies
right.
and stuff like that. So she taped it off of late night telly for me.
Right.
And I'm watching it one afternoon with my brother. We get as far as the chest burster sequence, and I just go, no, thank you. And I don't come back to it until I'm about 16.
See, I think I was how old would I have been? What year did Alien Resurrection come out?
Oh, okay, that's gonna be so. That's late 90s.
Alien 3 is 92, I believe. So Alien Resurrection would be like 95, 96-ish. Yes, I'm agreeing with Jay there. Okay, there's one moment that always gets me every time I see it. Independence Day, the alien, the containment throwing Brett Spanner against the window, jump scare perfection. Not that particular moment, but the one beforehand where they're doing the autopsy and they're cutting down the exoskeleton and it goes and opens up like that. That where it opens, that's the jump scare that gets me every time. Yeah. Jay's actually also mentioned here about a movie they watched last night called They Them. You worked on Alien 3? Okay, cool. I love Alien 3. It's one of those movies that kind of was butchered in the editing room. It's there's more to it than people would know about yet. But yeah, it's at its heart, it wants to be a nice little contained, you're trapped in here with something and you can't get out kind of movie. It's a spook house movie, basically. It's a ghost house, and they wanted it to be a bit more mainstream and wide open to everyone, as opposed to just a nice small art house movie. Essentially, it's small cast of characters all getting picked off one by one. The Shine. Oh well, I was going to talk about The Shine actually. Funny enough, yeah. It's a fantastic movie. I mean, you can say what you want about the changes to the book and everything like that, but Nicholson's performance is beyond.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's. I mean, he's got a reputation for being an intense actor anyway at the best of times, but in that movie, you can really believe that he's just a guy who's been left on his own for months. He's a lovely man, yeah. Oh, he's Batman as well. Oh yeah, he was Joker. Yeah.
That's a long debate, isn't it?
That's one of those cinema debates. Like, who's always going to do that? It's like no. I don't even.
You were going to say Mark Hamill, weren't you?
Mark Hamill, yeah. Takes us back to Luke Skywalker. Funny enough. But yeah, I think
Patsy.
Who's your favorite Joker? Who's your favorite Batman? It's one of those questions that's always there is who's your favorite Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to always have their own answer. So, really? Oh. You've got 60 years worth to catch up on. Yeah. Really? Oh.
Well, it's all about to drop on iPlayer as of 1st of November. Yeah. So plenty of stuff to catch up with for the 60th anniversary.
Yeah, several hundred episodes.
Yeah, just regrettably not the first 4.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation we're not getting into.
We're not getting into that.
No.
Yeah. Sorry. I was going to go back to this comment that Jay had about a movie called They Them that I watched last night.
Oh, right.
Interesting horror. It was based at a conversion camp. So horror on different levels, depending on who you are, which is interesting. Which obviously,
interesting, yeah.
Horror works on many, many different levels. What may be scary for one person is not necessarily scary for another. It all depends on your life experience and what have you.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily about physical horror and being threatened or that sort of thing as you do with your slasher movies. It might be something much more psychological from your own personal experience.
I'm going to point to one there with Jordan Peele's movie Get Out.
Right, yes.
Which is a fantastic thriller, horror, whatever you want to call it. I will call it horror because it is genuinely terrifying at times. But I can watch that movie and I see it from my perspective, my lived experience and what have you. But if you're watching that movie as someone who is a person of color, that movie speaks to you in many different ways that it can never speak to me.
Jordan Peele is just an absolute master at doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he uses his own experience to inform what goes into the script.
I would like to see what he can do next, because I don't want him to be pigeonholed as like the new wave of blaxploitation. Because obviously each of his 3 movies so far have featured people of color in the lead roles.
I would never go to the word blaxploitation.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't want him to get pigeonholed.
No, I think he's very much the new wave of black cinema.
Yes, in as much as like Spike Lee and what have you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he's also somebody who is capable of very, very more than capable of doing black cinema as lots of different mainstream genres, hence science fiction, hence horror, and so on and so forth. So it just means that black cinema does not necessarily have to equate with let's say Shaft.
Yeah,
so,
the late Richard Roundtree.
The late Richard Roundtree, is salute there. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what your creed or color or anything is. You can tell a story in any genre.
Yeah. I am agreeing with you. But when I say that is I don't want like every film to be of his to be just like, oh, here we go, same story again kind of thing. I don't want him to get sidetracked in that. I'm not saying that, okay, next movie, have a white guy as your main lead role.
No,
every other movie's got a white guy as a lead role, not a problem.
Oh, yeah.
But it's what I'm saying is I don't want him to just be, oh, he's that guy that does that. I want him to be. He's that guy that makes great movies,
Mm.
regardless of who's in them.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, the white cast members in Get Out are fantastic. So
I imagine. I mean, I've not seen it. I know enough about it
Oh,
to
you
imagine that
you'd love it.
that's. Oh, I'm gonna get to it. Absolutely, it's on my list.
Yeah.
But the white cast, I can imagine it was quite uncomfortable for them.
Oh yeah,
to
absolutely.
do that.
I mean, Stephen Root is brilliant in it, but some of the stuff that he has to say.
Stephen Root's a great actor.
It's not nice.
I mean, he's done some of Kevin's stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was in Red State.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
See, I finally got round to that this year.
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
Only 10 years after I lent you the DVD.
Yeah. So Red State, and I finally got round to Tusk.
Oh, what did you think to Tusk? It's a very much a Marmite movie, isn't it?
I don't dislike it. I get it as a Kevin doing a thing, based off pretty much it's like. He was spitballing on a podcast and came up with this idea, and it's like
I still remember where I was when I heard that idea.
And it was like, if you like this idea, tweet yes and Tusky yes, and we'll
Walrus, yes.
We'll do it. Walrus, yes, and we'll do it. And they did. And I don't know that's necessarily the best way to judge that an idea is good, but it's not a bad film. I don't think it's up there.
On that podcast, it's only the germ of the idea. There's a lot more that comes to it.
I am probably one of the rare people who could say I probably enjoyed Yoga Hosers more.
Okay.
I mean, Yoga Hosers, I think, is just funny.
And it's a kids movie, essentially, as well.
Yeah. I just. Yeah,
it's never going to scream serious horror when what's your villain? It's 1 foot tall sausage Nazis.
Yes. Bratzies.
Yeah, that's never going to be the case. But it's meant to be a silly little fun movie. That's why your main villain at the end is just an old Nazi who's sitting there doing silly voices that he heard on the telly. It's like, and now I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, I'm Adam West, old chum, and all that. That's what he starts like. It's literally, it's never going to be a serious movie, is it?
No, but I think I really rate it. Yoga Hosers. Kevin is the one who always punches down on it. Because it didn't do quite so well.
It's his Gremlins.
It has its fans, and I am one of them.
What's this question? Okay, so what grim fairy tale would you like to see in the Disney style, sticking to the original text by them?
Oh,
so but the thing is, with the grim fairy tales, they are grim by name and grim by nature.
Disney doing Hansel and Gretel.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea what the songs would be, but. We're gonna eat our way out of this problem.
Let's eat this house we found in the woods. There's a woman inside, but we don't care. Gonna eat your windows, eat your roof, eat the ground.
And chuck her in the oven.
Yeah, I don't know. Just
Yeah, Hansel and Gretel is the one that immediately springs to mind.
Hansel and Gretel would be.
What? I've got one of those really nice big.
Do you know what we do? Okay, you know what we do? We do Hansel and Gretel, but we have Hansel and Gretel and someone else, and we have Huey, Dewey, and Louie as the three kids. Hansel and Gretel and
Bob
and Dewey. And that's what we do, and they go to the woods, and it's Donald is the witch. He's like, come on in. I don't know. I can't do the voice. It sounds more like the old monster of Big Mountain. Thank you, baby. No.
It just reminds me. I do have a really nice. Well, I say I bought it for Kath one Christmas. It's one of those big hardback collections of the Grimm fairy tales annotated.
Oh right. Okay.
So I've got the Sherlock Holmes editions. And I've got Dracula and Frankenstein, and I got Alice's Adventures in Wonderland in the same edition. So they're really nice. H.H. Norton and Co. editions. So, it just makes me think. Actually, I should really sort of, because I can't think off the top of my head what all of the Grimm's fairy tales are.
No, I'd have
Which
to have a
ones-
list of them.
It's like is that Grimm or is that Hans Christian Andersen
Yeah,
or
that's it.
so it's like I'm sure there are stories that I'd go, oh yeah, I remember that one. I didn't realize that was grim, and yes, that is quite grim, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that's a book I might have to dig out.
I'd like to see it's not Grim Fairy Tales or anything like that. I want to see because I know Netflix have got the rights to the Roald Dahl stuff.
Yes,
I'd like to see them do like what's the story, like Beastly Kids or whatever it's called, his collection of short stories about horrible children. I'd love to see them ones.
I always liked the Twits.
They're doing that as a stop motion movie, I think it is.
And I still think it is an absolute shame that they've not done a proper adaptation of Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator.
Yes,
because we need to see
Vermicious
Knids.
Yes.
I mean, maybe with this new Wonka movie, they'll finally do Great Glass Elevator.
No, because it's got to be Charlie and the whole family. You can't put that in the prequel.
They'll come back to it, as a separate movie.
Yeah,
but
I think it's just because it's the lesser known sequel book that they don't really want, diminishing returns.
I'm sure I
It's
remember.
not the best book in the world.
I'm sure I remember reading that before I read the first one.
In fact, Jay said here about Jim Henson style. I'd like to see a Jim Henson style George's Marvelous Medicine. I love that book. I absolutely love that, because who doesn't love a book about the child who hates his grandmother so much he tries to poison her to death?
Thing about Roald Dahl though was he was very good at doing straight horror.
Yes.
Tales of the Unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I remember. So this would have been like my first year at junior school. So I would have been like 8, 9. And I remember our teacher, he didn't read the story, but he kind of told us the plot of this. So it's a Roald Dahl short story that's been a Tales of the... And it's basically the story of this woman who kills her husband by beating him to death with a leg of lamb.
Oh, yes.
And then cooks the leg of lamb, spoilers, and gets the detective to eat the evidence.
Yes, I do.
And it's like, that is brilliant. It's a massively dark story to be telling 8, 9-year-olds, but it's stuck in there.
Yeah,
and,
I remember that one. I remember that one.
That's one I very, very... And the only other thing I tend to remember about Tales of the Unexpected is the music and the dancing woman silhouette in front of the fire. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. God, yeah. That takes me back. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Not really. You were talking about watching Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix. The thing that's come out the last week or so that I watched is Bodies.
Oh yeah, I've not seen that yet.
So that's
Stephen Graham, isn't it?
Yeah. Science fiction procedural. I've now read the comic book that it's based on, because it's based on a Vertigo miniseries.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they've taken something that's very, very dark and comic booky and turned it into a much more mainstream procedural, but still with time jumps, time loops, different time periods, and what have you. I really, really recommend it and rate it. It's a very it's 8 episodes. You can get through that in a couple of days.
Did you see? This is just weirdly just how my brain works. So I've got Stephen Graham.
Your brain works weirdly. I was not aware of this.
You're talking about something with Stephen Graham. I'm thinking of Boiler Point, which then takes me. He's a chef in that one, which then takes me over to The Menu. Have you seen that yet? On Disney
have.
Plus?
I watched that earlier this year.
What do you think of that?
I think that's a brilliant movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a brilliant. I mean, it's one of those ones where it's like semi all-star cast.
Yeah.
And then
it's got a hell of a cast.
Yeah, Nicholas Hoult,
Anya Taylor-Joy, Ralph Fiennes, John Leguizamo.
Ralph Fiennes, who is literally in Liverpool doing the Scottish play now, isn't he?
Is he? Oh, I didn't know. Oh, yeah, with Indira Varma.
With Susie from Torchwood. Yeah. Joshua's going to see that.
Oh, right.
I think it's with. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to see that.
Oh, cool.
What else? But
yeah, the
no, I
menu's- that's a
really,
great movie.
I love, I just love all the conceits of it because it's like you get those bits where at the end of each course you get the menu
Yeah,
listing
tells
and
you what's
it's
going
like
on,
it's like the bit with the burger and it's
Yeah.
like the comments about it's a bit shit. it's massively.
Don't worry, we're not going into spoilers. We're not telling you anything that happens in there or anything like that.
I really do rate it. If you've not seen it, it's a Disney Plus.
Well, another movie that's on Disney Plus again
Disney
about
Plus.
meat and food and stuff. Fresh. Have you seen Fresh?
No.
That is Bucky from the Winter Soldier from Marvel. What's his name? Sebastian Stan.
Yes.
Yeah, he is
Mark Hamill version
Yeah.
2.0.
Yeah, so I mean, how to really put it this way: the main title doesn't actually come up until a half an hour in the movie.
Okay.
It's all like the first act's entire is pre-credits stuff.
Oh,
And he's just this nice guy who takes this woman out on a date and they're having a great time, and then turns out he's not a very nice man. And
He's not a very nice man.
yes, hey, it's Uncle Pete. Hello, Uncle Pete.
Hey.
Nice to see you.
It's got to be like 4 a.m. there.
It's very early over there. Yeah, so
Go to bed.
He gets up early.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's ex-military, isn't he? So he's used to being up early.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he always
Yeah,
gets up
that
this time of the morning, let the dog
Yeah.
out. I know the
Who
stories.
let the dogs
It
out?
was Uncle Pete. He's got very floofy dogs.
Does he?
Yes, very floofy.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. But yes, Fresh is a good one. Yeah, what time is it right there right now, Uncle Pete?
It'll be like
It's-
8 hours.
Yeah, it's you've been up since 2. Jesus Christ.
Because the clock's changed
Okay.
last night. It'll
Yeah,
be
it's
8
gonna-
hours rather than 7 hours difference.
No, it's 7 hours rather than 8.
Is it?
Because their clocks don't go back till next week.
Yeah, that's why it's now 8.
No, it's not. It's now 7. It was 8. It's now 7. 4:20 a.m. There you go. So whatever the difference is there.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. Oh, of course, it's 4:20. Well done. And then another film that's on Disney Plus that we watched a week or two ago was No One Will Save You, I think it's called.
Don't know that.
There's one line of dialogue in the entire movie.
Oh, okay.
It's completely silent movie.
Let me guess what that line of dialogue is.
You'll never guess. You will never guess.
Is it no one will save you?
No, it's not.
Oh, is it not?
No, it's
Oh,
not.
okay.
I mean, there's the girl is how to say this without spoiling it. Basically, when she's running away from what's attacking her, she does pant and groan if she gets hit by things and stuff like that. There is noise in the movie,
Right.
but there's no dialogue. There's only one line of actual dialogue.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's great, and I really can't say any more than that.
Okay.
But it's really good. Nope, don't say that word. Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I mean, during October, I tend to try and concentrate on horror-themed stuff.
Yeah.
So, for example, I am watching the Halloween requel trilogy at the moment.
God, I'm sorry.
No, liking it so.
Oh,
God. I mean, I'd seen
No.
Halloween already.
Halloween 2018 is fine. If they just left it there, it would have been fine.
I
Because they had to go because they committed to 3 movies.
Yeah.
They only have enough movie for story for 2 movies.
They'd originally talked about just doing 2 back to back.
Yeah.
And then decided, actually, no, we'll have to do the first one and then decide whether we're doing more. And when they decided to do more, they then expanded out to a trilogy.
They only got the license from the I forget the name of the family that owns it right now. It's not Carpenter.
It's the Akkad family.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they had the license for them for 3 movies only, so there was never any scope to do any more after that. But they originally were going to do 2, and they've only had enough story for 2 movies.
Yeah.
But then they had to squeeze out enough for a 3rd one,
Yeah.
and it's like, Uncle Pete is watching the Houses October Bill for the 29th day and 29th day. He's watching this movie every single day in October.
As you do.
The same, and he's reviewing it every single day on his YouTube as well. Go check it out.
Does it get better after the 29th time?
I think at this point you could probably quote it word for word.
No, I haven't watched Halloween Ends yet, so I'm probably going to watch that
Save
tomorrow.
yourself a job, Thomas.
Halloween Kills I really quite like because
no,
because it's kind of a study in mob mentality, and it's like they're all desperate to sort of deal with this evil once and for all, but it gets
evil dies tonight, Paul. Evil dies tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you knew that, but evil dies tonight.
Evil dies tonight, but they end up doing a lot of bad shit, and it's not good. And
no, it's not. You're right. It's not good. It's a bad movie.
No, I disagree. I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's as good as Halloween 2018, but I don't think it's a bad movie, and it's got some good casting in there again.
No. It's. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you've got what's his face as the kid from Weird Science,
not Paul Rudd.
Yeah. I am Tommy, not Tommy Jarvis. That's Friday the 13th.
Anthony.
God, why am I blanking on his name now?
Yeah, carry on. Keep
anyway,
talking.
but he's the sheriff now and everything. The kid that Laurie's babysitting in the original Halloween, he comes back. Anthony Michael Hall.
That's it.
Yeah. He's great. He's a great actor anyway. But I don't like Halloween Kills. It's not a good movie.
Because he did the TV version of Stephen King,
the Dead Zone.
The Dead Zone.
Yeah.
So another horror connection there.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying earlier, some of my favorite horrors are the Japanese horrors. I watched what it was I really wanted to see Sadako versus Kayako, the mashup movie between Ring and Grudge.
Yeah.
So it kind of led me down the black hole of what are all the Ring and Grudge movies I haven't seen.
Oh, there's a lot. Watch Josh's timeline.
There's
yes, TV miniseries and
everything. So I grabbed the Sadako 3D movies. And you know what? Given that I'd watched Friday the 13th Part 3,
Camera's there, Paul.
I think again watching them in 2D only.
Yeah.
But I thought.
But you don't like people going like this into the camera with videos things. Yeah, here's a pitchfork. Here's a yo-yo.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, I'm going to point at the camera.
Eyeball.
Just because I have. But certainly in Sadako 3D, the first one like that. Yes, they play with depth of field quite effectively, and you get that even in the 2D version. So like staring up from the bottom of the well and stuff like that, and then having the sky in the background. You do definitely get a sense of depth of field. Yeah. Which Friday the 13th didn't really have that. It was just let's do a gag of ooh.
Yeah, well, Friday the 13th was the heyday of hello.
Yeah.
Amara's finally turned up.
Amara's into house.
Where's her microphone? Let's get it plugged in. You're using it. Yes, you're using a microphone, so we'll have to plug your one in. Well, which one are you? Your yellow one. Yeah.
Well, no, because that's the.
Oh, you coming over? Okay, that's fine. Let's plug all the microphones in. Spencer's here. Right. Tell you what, I'll have to get the other camera out.
Do you want to? Shall we pause for a minute and then?
Yeah, we'll tell you what.
Plug stuff. Yeah, let's.
We'll be back in 2 minutes.
And we'll be right back.
So we can plug new stuff in.
After this short break.
Okay.